The Department of Interior's budgeting process includes the Tribal Priority Allocations and the Tribal Interior Budget Council. It basically pits tribe against tribe by prioritizing within the tribe's TPA budget and supplementing funds to each program by taking from one another program within the tribe's TPA budget. Tribes do not influence with the solution process. They can only make recommendations. The funding formulation needs to be allocated on a region-by-region basis with emphasis on land base and population. We need lobbyists and legislatures to create set-aside funding for large-based tribes.
Ampetu ashte, ihapi, sasaya macha piksho, makbialuta owaewa. Our grandfathers made 3 treaties with the United States for us. 1. The 1825 treaty with the Sioux and the Oglala tribes. This was a treaty of peace. 2. The 1851 Treaty of Fort Laramie, which defined the Great Sioux Territory and allowed safe passage for settlers. And 3. The 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty defined the Great Sioux Reservation and guaranteed ownership of the Black Hills to the Lakota. The United States Constitution was ratified on September 17, 1787. And in Article 6, it states, "This Constitution and the laws of the United States, which shall be made in pursuance thereof, and all treaties made, or which shall be made under the authority of the United States shall be the supreme law of the land." Treaties define the relationship between the tribes and the United States and also created rights that are protected under the United States law.
Therefore, funding appropriated and distributed for services to tribes and their members is based on the fact that the United States government has a fiduciary trust responsibility under the treaties to protect tribal property, land, rights, and resources. Today's government funding cynically masks the fact that the United States is just providing uncertain, erratic handouts. These funds should not be viewed as entitlements or discretionary. They should be protected and guaranteed. Quid pro quo treaty benefits.
Ampetu ashte yuhapi, chante nape chiuzapelo, kingosperi machiapilo, wazia haha elwati, machbialuta owayawa. The Oglala Sioux Tribe Youth Council Statement of Intent. We are Lakota. It is our intention to be the voice that defines our generation through the values of love, generosity, and trust. We will define that voice as we speak with dialogue that is needed to promote our way of life. Wo Lakota. We know there is much to learn and much to restore, and we know that we will need the guidance of our elders and our leaders. In the end, it is up to us to defend and honor our nation. Together, we will create the future that we can be proud of.
It is the Lakota tradition to look out for the next 7 generations. As a leader, I am responsible for this within Article 7 of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty. It guaranteed funding for school, houses, and teachers so the children of the Lakota Nation could attend school and get an education. The Great Plains region has one of the most Bureau of Indian Affairs education schools. Of the $2.4 billion appropriated for the operation of Indian programs, nearly 20% of the funding is in the BIE budget. At least 20% of the funding should come to the Great Plains region. Of the funds received to operate schools, the BIE uses 2/3 for administrative activities, and the school receives 1/3 of funds to operate. $22,000 is allocated per child, but local funding only receives $5,590 per child. There needs to be adherence. The Great Plains region 2016 needs-based budget total for Bureau of Education is $149,645,000. Within Article 13 of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, it guaranteed funding for human services. A February 2013 U.S. Census report indicates that South Dakota has the highest Indian poverty rates of any state. The Great Plains region's reservations are home to 5 of the 10 poorest counties, including the poorest county in the entire country, 4 in South Dakota. According to 2010 U.S. Census Bureau data, the General Assistance Program provides financial assistance payments to eligible Indians as a last resort for essential needs such as food, clothing, and shelter. Due to lack of funding, it is not uncommon for individuals and families served under BIA and 638 contracted programs to be cut off this basic subsistence resource later in the fiscal year as funding is exhausted. The Great Plains Region 2016 needs-based budget total for human services is $189,869,000. Within Article 2 of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, it guaranteed funding for law enforcement services so the children of the Lakota Nation could be safe and protected. The 2009 Tribal Law and Order Act is an unfunded mandate requiring tribes to implement additional services. The tribes in the Great Plains region would like to see a point of contact at the regional level to provide technical expertise in updating implementation of individual law and order codes, court processes, separation of powers, and corrective action plans. The review conducted by an independent private contractor recommended funding increases to $10 million above the 2012 enacted funding level. Not all tribes receive increases to their baseline funding. The Great Plains Region 2016 needs-based budget total for facilities, operations, and maintenance is $4,134,000. Law enforcement is $21,574,000, and tribal courts is $8,313,000. Within Article 11 of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, it guaranteed funding for roads so the children of the Lakota Nation could travel safely. The Great Plains Region 2016 needs-based budget total for road maintenance is $25,890,000. The budget for tribes has been at $26 million for 20 years. It should be at least $160 million a year. The current budget doesn't justify maintenance backlog of tribes. The roads maintenance program is responsible for maintenance of 29,500 miles of BIA-owned roads and more than 931 BIA-owned bridges constructed under the Indian Reservation Roads program in Indian Country. The TPA funding that tribes receive will only allow approximately $716 per mile for maintenance. Funding needs to be allocated on a region-by-region basis with emphasis on land base and population. Within Article 6 of the 1868 Fort Laramie Treaty, it guarantees funding for establishing a permanent home so the children of the Lakota Nation could live. The Great Plains Region 2016 needs-based budget total for housing improvement is $164,784,000. The Great Plains Region 2016 needs-based budget total for trust and natural resources is $9,981,000.
Mitakiapi, Chante Washte na Pechi Zapi, Savannah Jensen Nima Chiapi no Wani etu Ake Mashak going. Machpia Luta Ella Blawa na Wazia Haha Emataha. Hello, my name is Savannah Jensen. I will greet you with a warm handshake. I'm 17 years old and I go to school at Red Cloud High School, and I'm from the Pine Ridge Reservation. We, the Oglala Sioux Tribe Youth Council, stand by our tribe's opposition to the XL pipeline. We do not want our precious water to be poisoned by future leaks. We recognize the need to be energy independent in our nation, but we know that the proposed contents of the XL pipeline can be transported in a more efficient and safe manner, such as by rail, which would offer jobs and other benefits to our country. It is in our opinion that our nation should not be dependent upon the foreign oil for its energy. We should instead be using water, hydrogen wind, geothermal, solar, and myriad other forms of energy. Many of our outstanding engineering colleges, such as the South Dakota School of Mines and Technology in Rapid City, are already working on new and lasting solutions. We represent our respective schools and the future leaders of our Oglala Sioux tribe. For the good of our people, the land, and our future, we oppose.
There is a need for direct reporting for tribes with self-determination PL 93-638 contracts pertaining to the Government Performance and Results Act. GRPA collects data from BIA-operated and administrates programs as per the Department of Interior Strategic Plan measures and budget justification authorized uses measures. If a tribe initiates and contracts a function of the BIA through PL 93-638 process, there should be a mechanism to directly report and submit tribal data and statistics based on tribal need. Compliance and participation with GEPRA does not guarantee no budget cuts or elimination of tribal programs, and it doesn't provide funding based on tribal need. Furthermore, the BIA does not provide technical assistance to tribes on GEPRA. I hope the great Heavenly Father, who will look down upon us, will give us, the tribes, His blessings, that we may go forth in peace and live in peace all of our days, and that He will look down upon our children and finally lift us above this earth, and that our Heavenly Father will look upon our children as His children, that all the tribes may be His children, and as we shake hands today upon the broad plain, we may forever live in peace. Red Cloud, 19th century, Oglala Sioux Chief.